Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
Should I tell my ex's fiancé that he was cheating on me with her when they met? Greetings, Reddit. Here's a brand new poster for you. I've uncovered some facts and think I need some direction in order to proceed. I, 26 years old, and my ex-boyfriend, whom we'll call Fred, 28 years old, started dating roughly 4 years ago. We met at work and had a great first impression of one another. We had been dating for about a year and a half and were both quite interested in one another's life throughout that time. For example, he went on a trip with my whole family a few months before the breakup occurred. After that, Fred started to act weirdly and distantly, such as by ignoring my calls and refusing to spend time with me, and I became concerned. We both still lived at home. As a result, we ended up breaking up when I brought up the matter of how distant he was, and he effectively told me that we would no longer be working together. Following our separation, Fred called me at 2 a.m. the next morning and told me that he was a bad person who had been cheating on me for the previous week. It seemed that his guilty conscience had gotten the better of him, since we had no touch with one another, no mutual ties, and no reason to communicate with one another. He might have kept quiet and I would have been completely unaware. He told me that this had happened before. I didn't inquire as to who it was, but I had a sneaking suspicion it was a female he had met at work, the same location where he had met me. I was no longer there at the time. Primarily due to the fact that he had brought her up and was often contacting someone he claimed to be his aunt, I immediately recognized the scam. We kept in contact for a short period of time, still wanting to remain friends. For my own sake, I therefore decided to discontinue connection with him and to ban him from all social media networks. I didn't block his phone number, but I also didn't text him back. Soon after, I moved across the country and began a new chapter in my life. He contacts me around once a year to check how I'm doing and to wish me the best of luck. I never respond to anything. So I became intrigued today and Googled his name. I know, I'm a fool, and found a wedding webpage for him and his fiancée, which I thought was pretty cool. They are getting married at the end of the year. Of course, I had to click on it since I couldn't stop myself. This site, on the other hand, tells the story of them. This story of them almost verifies that she was the female with whom he cheated on me. Without going into specifics, it was established that they met at work. Context: he left this job with about 2 months left in our relationship, so he definitely met her while we were dating and he had even mentioned her a few times. Their narrative also mentions how he hounded her for weeks to have a drink with her, yep, verbatim quote, until she eventually surrendered. The time frame is totally consistent with her being the person he was seeing. He even informed me that when she inquired who I was, he told her we were casual since our social media profile photographs were with one other. I also recall his fiancée's name being the same as the name of his aunt he was messaging. Because they described these instances when he was seeing someone else, me, on their marriage website, I believe he never informed her about our connection. So I'm sure you're wondering where I'm headed. Is it okay for me to tell her the truth? It's been so long that I hardly remember him. I know we weren't wonderful together and that I escaped with my life. But I can't help but think she should know what she's getting herself into. I don't want to be a petty, well, maybe 5% of me does, but I believe their love is based on a falsehood. And I certainly don't want to come out as the crazy ex. Part of me feels someone in his family or a friend would have informed her since they knew we were involved, but they were sort of horrible people and may not have known the complete chronology. In any case, any ideas would be highly welcomed. I don't have a method to reach her right now, so I'd have to locate her on social media and contact her. Thank you, Reddit. Story 2. Found out my wife cheated on me one time 12 years ago when we were dating. My age is 29. Her age is 30. We met online when we were 11 and had a connection for a few years before meeting in person when I was 16. We used to converse on the phone every day and fantasize about seeing each other back then. I traveled across the country to visit her when I was able to acquire a job and afford a plane ticket, and we maintained our online connection in person. We never had any conversations, but after about 5 days, we'd play about and try to have, but he failed to go all the way, possibly due to inexperience, fear, and both of us being virgins. On the second night of our relationship, we had our first kiss, my first kiss. I returned home and we communicated for another 6 months until she could come see me after her first semester of college. She was at college for the 6 months between our initial encounter and her visit to me that summer, and we wandered as any couple would. I discovered she was drinking, partying, and so forth. I found out from her that she let someone to finger her at the time. I hung on to it, knowing that was true, but it was constantly in the back of my mind whether that was all there was to it. What man would simply finger a female in college? Let's fast forward, we got engaged after she relocated to my state. I worked evenings for a long period, and around 6 months before we married, I saw phone bills showing her phoning someone every night for hours. They were emailing images and having phone, which I discovered. During that time, I had left her and was about to call it quits on the engagement. Everything should be cancelled. We spoke and discussed. We had serious talks about how this was it. What did she wish for? What was it that I desired? We gradually worked on our relationship and eventually married. We had 2 kids. We're content. And we've been married for over 5 years. As I previously said, I've always had this nagging sensation that I should ask her. Allow me to breathe without worrying about what occurred 12 years ago. Was there anything else she did? Was there anybody else there? Last night, I approached her and asked her flatly, "Did you have with that man in college?" She responded no. She refused to respond and became enraged when I questioned her. She thought I was going to assault her. I can tell if she's lying because I have a sixth sense, and I could feel something wasn't right. I begged and pleaded with her to tell me the truth. She eventually admitted to me that she had with him, but it was just one night, with one person, ever. There was no one else, so she utilized defense. I trust her since the date corresponds to our problems and what I heard from her pals at the time. My issue is that she doesn't seem to be remorseful. She's genuinely enraged that I brought it up 12 years later. I've attempted to sit her down and explain that I simply wanted to know and that it makes me feel better to inquire. But she can be abrasive, and she was irritated that I brought this up so many years later. She inquired as to why I was doing it and what my motivation was. I told her that all I wanted was to know the truth in my heart. I understand her rage and recognize that it is most likely internal, and I'll wait for her to change her mind. My sentiments have been profoundly damaged. I feel silly for having a problem like this. Why should I worry about something that happened a long time ago? What about all the other individuals who other people before meeting their spouse? I think I simply thought we were unique. We had been together since we were children, and it was a wonderful narrative. I'm thinking about the following questions. Did it have any significance for her? Am I any better? Do you want to accompany me? Are you satisfied with my performance? Did you ever want to tell me the truth? Did that eat you up on the inside? Edit. I've updated the tale and included additional information. Please reread. My apologies. Because I am stupid, the timeline seems strange. In 1995, we met on AOL. I gave up my virginity to her. She had intercourse with him. I didn't want to bring this up since it seemed like a terrible article, but it received a lot more reactions than I expected. All of the problems that occurred in the past. I moved on. I'm over them, and I know she loves me right now, and she's sorry for what occurred before we married. We're all getting together for dinner tonight to chat about everything. We had a tremendous fight this morning because I told her all I needed was an apology. A bare embrace. Something that will reassure me that she loves me. She hasn't completed them yet. She's enraged. But I told her I needed them, and that's where we're at. I'll answer individually tonight, and I appreciate everyone's input.